It is National Corrections Week here at home. The Department of Correctional Services says the week is meant to promote understanding of the correctional system. It says correctional centres of learning equip offenders with the necessary skills to be self-sufficient upon release. Well, to highlight that there is life beyond prison, we're joined this morning by Shani Krebs. He was a drug addict who ended up in Thailand in 1994 to assist with a drug trade operation. He was arrested at the airport and later handed a death sentence. But he came back home in 2012 and now helps raise awareness among the youth about the dangers of drug use and also speaks to prisoners as well. Shani, good morning.
Morning.
And thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Now you're also an artist and an
correct.
author, so we'll talk about that a little later on as well. But first, let's start with what landed you in prison in Bangkok. How did you get there?
So as you said earlier, I was smuggling drugs. I was caught with 2.4 kilos of heroin leaving Thailand. So I was given the death penalty, and which was commuted to life imprisonment, which is 100 years. So I started my sentence on 100 years and finished it in 18.
Okay, and then obviously through, was it presidential pardons or
so it
what
was
was
on,
it that
on
got you back home?
amnesties granted on occasions of the King of Thailand. But I do have a history of drug addiction prior to going to prison of 16 years of using drugs and dealing drugs in the streets of Johannesburg.
So what for you, the Shani who went into prison in Bangkok and the Shani who came out, were they two different people? Definitely the 18 years changed you?
Well, on a personal level, I came out a changed man. And the most important thing was that I was committed to having a very different life to the one I had prior to going to prison. So I was more responsible, I was passionate about my art, and more importantly, I had a story to tell, and I wanted to make a difference in people's lives.
So your art, would you say, is something, I mean, that's something you did from childhood, that's something that you were gifted with from a very early age. Is that something that you would say kept you going in your time in prison? Because you did a lot of those drawings. I mean, a lot of them look like photos. They're so perfect.
So it was a process. You know, I went through this whole process where I evolved as a person. I developed my artistic skills. So besides being an escape from my reality, it definitely helped me maintain my sanity. And through my art, I rediscovered who I am.
So you now, since coming home, involved in various charitable efforts. You've been talking to kids at school about drug addiction, but you've also started speaking to prisoners, and you've done your first talk.
Yes,
what do you tell them?
So basically there is life after prison, and there is hope that when they came out, they can lead very different lives and become productive citizens. But you know, we all deserve a second chance, but it's not afforded. You've got to earn it. And I think while in prison, you're robbed of your dignity. Prison's a very dark place, but it's also a place where you can actually change. You can change your life, you can change your outlook, and come out into society and lead a normal life. But sometimes the problem is that the system fails us. When I came out, I also struggled to exhibit my art. You know, society is unforgiving. So I'd like to see more done on behalf of the attitude towards prisoners. I mean, I was a deliverer of death. I destroyed people's lives.
A deliverer of death?
Well,
is that your
drugs, you know, drugs do kill people.
Is that how you see yourself, saw yourself?
Yeah, so I deserve what I got, basically. And today I paint pictures. I bring joy to people's lives. I've written a best-selling autobiography, which has been introduced into school libraries. So we do, as prisoners, have a very powerful message to convey.
I mean, there is a stereotype about prisoners, and the debate about whether prisoners can be rehabilitated, whether that is possible, still rages on, Shani. I mean, what do you say, having been through this? You admit that what you did was wrong. Yeah.
So I know that South Africa is one of the most advanced rehabilitation programs. There are about 12 programs currently in practice. I don't know how effective they are, but like I said earlier, we do deserve a second chance, but I'm self-rehabilitated, and I was committed to leading a very different life. I mean, often we come out into society, we can't get jobs, people look down on you, there is a stigma attached to being an ex-convict. So life is difficult. So what do? They resort to crime. So this is the problem.
And a lot of your work reflects your struggles in prison?
My art,
Yeah. Your art, definitely.
Yeah, so it also represents different phases that I went through of me changing as a person, my transformation. Hence the title of the book, Dragons and
Dragons
the
and
Butterfly.
Butterfly. I was going to ask you about that, Dragons and Butterfly. So you definitely came out a butterfly on the other side of this. Went in a dragon. Sentenced to die, choosing to live. Just tell us about that moment that you made that choice to live.
So I made that very early into my confinement. The one thing that I took an oath that I would stand up for when I went into prison for what I believed was right, and that I wouldn't compromise my integrity. So losing your freedom does something to you. I mean, it was probably the worst thing. I've always been a free spirit, and there was no ways that I was going to die in prison.
Okay.
And survival was key for me.
Okay, well, I've yet to make it through the book Dragons and Butterflies. It is quite a read, but I believe from those who've read it that it is, you can't put this book down, and you're very candid and you're very honest in this book. Thanks very much for your time. Shani Krebs, artist, author, ex-con, if I can call you that respectively.
I just wave to my friends.
You can wave to your friends. Thank you very much for your time.